Hello, Arriel Vinson. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for chatting with me. When I got word about your new book coming out, I was so excited because obviously the Indianapolis connection. But you've already got some great hype. So the book is called Under the Neon Lights.
Yes, yes. It was originally called something else, but we felt like Under the Neon Lights was perfect for that skating rink vibe.
Yes. Okay. So I did not grow up in Indianapolis. I grew up outside Detroit, but as every good child of the 80s/90s, as soon as I read that, I was like, yep, I know those lights.
Right. You know the lights, you know the disco ball,
Mhm.
you know the general nostalgic vibe of the skating
Yeah,
rink.
you can see it, smell it, everything. So tell me, tell for those who don't know, can you just give us a little synopsis about the book, and then we'll kind of dive into the juicier bits.
Of course, Under the Neon Lights is my debut novel. It is a YA novel in verse, which means it's told in poems. It follows Jalen, a 16-year-old Black girl in Indianapolis who falls in love at the skating rink, but it closes due to gentrification. So it explores themes such as first love, female friendship, complicated family dynamics, and community building. So, all the people who love love stories, all the people who love friendship stories, this is the perfect read for you.
Well, I mean, Indy Maven, obviously being a femme-powered group, we loved the female friendships, but I know also just a lot of readers in our audience. So, what inspired you to write the book? Are you from here, Indianapolis, originally? And some of it, I was like, okay, yeah, I know where she's talking about. You get that real sense of place if you're from the area.
Absolutely. So I'm from the west side of Indianapolis, born and raised in Indy. I didn't leave Indy until undergrad, where I went to IU Bloomington. And then throughout my 20s, I've lived in New York, I've lived in Dallas, but Indianapolis is where I call home again. So really excited to, be talking about Indianapolis, be talking about the Midwest. When I first started writing Under the Neon Lights, I was in grad school at Sarah Lawrence College, and I was sitting with a friend who's also a local author. Her name is Leah Johnson. And we were just sitting there, and I was complaining of like, oh, there aren't any roller skating books that focus on the Black culture of roller skating. And she was like, didn't you just write a short story for your writing workshop regarding the rink? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, that's the novel. And I was like, I don't know about that. So I took it to I had to write a thesis for graduation. So I took kind of that short story to my workshop instructors. And I was like, yeah, I'm really attached to this idea. I want to think about what the story would look like if the skating rink was closing. And they gave me so many resources from other books to read, just for the form of it, to documentaries about roller skating, articles about roller skating rinks closing. And it kind of went from there.
And I love too the again that sense of place, but also your style is very so it's written in like a kind of
Mhm.
a verse lyrical poetic style. So can you tell me about that choice?
Yeah, of course. So I got my master's of fine arts in fiction, and you could not tell it from reading Under the Neon Lights because even though it's a fiction novel, it's all poetry. Because we were allowed in that program to take craft classes in other genres. So even though I was taking fiction workshops, I was learning so much about poetry as I was writing. And for my thesis, I had to turn it in prose, but I was interning at one of the big five publishers in New York, and I had this little journal that I would write in on the train, and it all came out as poems. So I was like, you know what? Let's stick to that. Let's stick to that. Let's turn it back to poems, because I think it really just the story lends itself to a more rhythmic tale. I wanted someone to feel like, even if they can't skate at all, like their feet are in skates and they're rolling around the rink. I wanted them to feel the music. I wanted them to be able to feel like they stepped into West Side Roll without actually stepping into it.
Yeah, and was that based on a rink that you went
It
to?
is. It is. It's based on Skateland in Indianapolis, which thankfully is still open. So, and I'm having a skate party there the first, oh my gosh, next weekend, June 7th, to celebrate the book.
Oh, incredible. Amazing. Is that open to the public?
It is. It is. It's $15 general admission, which includes your skate rental. And Loudmouth Books will be there
Oh,
selling
great. We love them. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be sure to link to that. And I don't want people, because I know a lot of people are sort of intimidated by poetry or it scares them away. And I just want to say, like, having read this, it doesn't even, you still get immersed in the story. You can still follow it. It still feels like you are reading a fiction book. You are. It's just a very different kind of style.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. It was refreshing. And then, so I know the book is released June 3rd.
Yes.
Okay. But already, like I said, has some buzz. And I think part of that was that you were Reese's book club lit up fellow. That's
Yes.
exciting. I mean, because we all love Reese, right?
Right.
Everybody loves the book
Who
club.
doesn't love Reese? Who does not stand Reese?
And that's got to be huge for a first time publisher,
Absolutely.
published author. So how
Absolutely.
exciting. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, that was such a great experience. And it's so funny because I did not plan on applying for the program until like one person at my grad school sent it to me and she was like, I know you're working on YA, this is for women writers. You should apply. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think the manuscript is ready. And then a second person sent it to me, and then a third. And I was like, okay, all right, okay, whatever. I will try my luck. And then next thing you know, I'm getting an email that's like, "Congratulations, you're a lit up fellow." And my mind was blown. My mind was blown.
So what was that experience like? What did it involve?
It involved, so back then, it was really still peak pandemic. So unfortunately, we did not get to have our retreat in person. So we had a weekend virtual retreat. And because we didn't have a retreat in person, they kind of gave us funds to go somewhere, whether that be, an Airbnb, a hotel, something like that. Because, some people have roommates, some people have, their caregivers. So they wanted us to have a weekend uh, exclusively lit up if we wanted that. And so I was right down at the Bottle Works Hotel in Indianapolis. And it was just panels, meetings, etc., of learning about publishing, learning about plot, so many things that I didn't know, which was great. And we also got a mentor who would look at our draft, give us feedback, and we would touch base with them 3 times. So that was really impactful for me. Leah Johnson ended up being my mentor, and we've known each other since college, but it was nice because she already knew what I was trying to do with Under the Neon Lights. She was their first YA pick, Reese's Book Club's first YA pick. So it was a great mentorship for me and a great understanding of what am I trying to do and am I actually doing it?
Yeah.
And after that, there's a querying process where first they give you a list of agents who are willing to read lit up submissions. But first you get to talk to one of them just to ask questions about querying, ask questions about them as an agent. And so I saw my dream agent on there and I was like, I want to talk to her. So we got on the phone, we really hit it off. And by the end of the call, she was like, okay, when you're ready, submit to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, but I was like, maybe she's just saying that to be nice. And then she said, I'm not saying this to be nice. I said, okay.
I read your mind.
She read my mind. I moved a little slow in the querying process. I didn't query when everyone else did. I queried when I was ready. Um, and I'm still happy with that decision. I didn't want to rush it, but I got my dream agent and now here we are. So I still talk to the cohort that I came in with. I talk to the cohorts that came after me who got the in-person experience. So we're like for us to never have really met each other other than digitally, we're pretty tight knit.
That's so cool. And I love that even in something that can be such a solitary activity, right, of writing a book, that you still, how important community was still in that
Absolutely.
process.
Absolutely. Especially in 2020 and 2021. I say this often, the pandemic kind of highlighted how much more I could be showing up and how much more we could all be connected. And I really learned that and was able to put that into Under the Neon Lights because I have always had, my friends say I have too many friends, but I have always had a lot of friends. I have a huge support system in my family, and I really appreciate that. But I think you can always learn new ways to show up and you can always learn new ways to put in effort. And so Jalen, the protagonist of Under the Neon Lights, has to learn that as well.
Mm. I love that element you just said of new ways to show up because I think we just get stuck in our way and are just like, well, I'm
Yeah.
doing it. I'm doing everything I can. This is it.
Right.
And there are
Right.
so many different ways to engage and show up and support people. And I think you're right that a lot of that did come out of the pandemic. So
Yeah.
how long was the process for you from
Too long. Too long. Let's see. I started writing in 2018. Yeah, summer of 2018 because I graduated from my grad program in 2019. And I got my agent in 2022, and then I got my book deal in 2023, and now book comes out next week, 2025. So a long time, about 5 or 6 years, but I will say part of it is because I just wasn't as disciplined as I needed to be first. Like I was graduating and I was trying to find my first corporate job out of grad school. I was trying to adjust to that. Going from having all this time in the world to write, even though I had part-time jobs in grad school, having a lot of time to write to you have to be somewhere in New York by 9 a.m.
yeah.
That includes getting your coffee and your
Right.
breakfast sandwich.
In New
To
York again.
New York, once again, the subway's
Yeah.
always late.
Yeah.
And getting figuring out, is my lunch break writing? Is my lunch break lunch? Is it both at the same time? Where do I fit my writing into my schedule? So it was a lot of that, and it was also a lot of I'm young and I'm in New York and I want to have fun. I haven't seen a model for what it looked at that time. I hadn't seen a model for what it looked like to get a book deal for someone like me who's my parents, I'm a first generation college student. I don't have friends who are authors other than Leah Johnson. And so the model just wasn't there for me. I had to watch Leah's journey to be like, oh, okay, so this is possible. This can happen. Like a Black girl from the Midwest writing about Black girls from the Midwest, people will want to read that. And so I needed that model first to take it seriously. And then by 2020, I had no choice but to hunker down
Yeah.
because we were no longer going to the office in New York. So that was the time where I was like, okay, if it's now or never, it's literally now or never. And then I got really serious, wrote a million drafts, edited, revised, and then I finally queried.
And here you are.
Here I am.
So now we've got the past. Now we're looking to the future. What do you hope comes of this? Are you back in the Midwest? What are your hopes and dreams for this book moving forward?
Yes, I'm back in the Midwest, and I really hope that people just continue to learn to show up for each other. I think, especially during this administration, with all the changes that we have, we have to show each other support, and that might look different than it looked in 2020, than it looked in 2018, or then even it looked in 2024. So we have to learn how to show up for each other. And I also want people to think about the impact that gentrification has on different neighborhoods and how we play a role sometimes in gentrification across our own cities. Um, I want people to just, come away with being more reflective and thinking more about where we place the importance on our community and how we can really love each other. It sounds very psychedelic and
Under the neon lights.
right, under the neon lights. But I think that Under the Neon Lights is a book about finding your self-worth and finding what it means to have a voice. And sometimes that takes the love of other people.
I love that. I'm so excited for you. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
sharing about your journey. We wish you so much success and luck with this, which I know you're already going to have. And the book's available for pre-order. And we know Loudmouth has it,
Right, we know Loud Mouth has
as well
it.
as all the other places. So we'll be sure to share that. And I'm so excited. I'm so proud. Like, we'd love
Thank
to see
you.
this out of Indianapolis, but also just, I mean, from the success standpoint and the highlight reel, but also just hearing about the journey. And then really, thank you also for bringing some of these issues that are really important to light and saying that we can hold space in one conversation for
Yeah.
love and youth and all the happy stuff. And then also like some heavier stuff that
Yeah.
really that it can all come together in one beautiful package. And I think you've done that. So
Thank you so much. Yeah, I tried to wrap all the hard things up in a romance.
right. And sometimes we need that beauty, but we need that beauty in the world too. And again, both are important and we can have both. So Thank you for writing a beautiful book and
Thank you for reading it.
sharing with us. And hopefully, we'll get a lot of people to show up and show out at your skate party.
I hope so.
And
Bring your
hopefully, it's the first of many,
right,
right?
do some stretches, get your knees together.
Yeah. Do you know Muffy Skates?
I do know Muffy skates, yes.
He's been
So
a member, an OG member in Indy Maven for a long time, and
fun.
we've talked about a skate lesson for quite some time. So maybe this is,
I'm like, I did go to one of her skate lessons and it was so cool. And I was like, wow, I know not much about skating. Like, I think, I love skating. I can forward skate, I can backward skate, but some of just, the foundations, the techniques, she has it down. She has it down.
yeah, and talk about a workout, right?
Right? I was done and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Well, thank you so much again for the conversation, and hopefully we'll talk again in a few months and hear about all your success.
Yes, I hope so. Thank you so much, Leslie. And thank you, Indy Mavens. This is great. I'm so excited.
You know, okay, we're gonna